So I had this image that I found, and I can't even remember where I found it. And the image was of a very elderly African American man sitting, I think, on a porch outside what looked like a pretty rustic house or something. And the image itself was not particularly interesting as an image. It was perfectly fine, but there was nothing sort of remarkable about it. And I would not really have looked at it under normal circumstances, but then I turned it over, and the picture of the man was, he was sitting reading, and it was, I can't remember if it was a bit unclear what he was reading, whether it was a newspaper or it was a comic book or a magazine or something. And as I say, I would not really have looked twice at it, except that I turned the image over, and I saw that written on the back was Dad learning to read. And at the time, it really was a sucker punch, that caption, because it gave the image this extraordinary depth of meaning that otherwise it would not have had, and said so much about race and age and poverty and disadvantagedness and disadvantage and things like that. So it was really like, oh my God, this is such a heartbreaking image, and sort of also really wonderful. And it remains one of my favorite images, and I speak about it when people ask me if there's an image that I really like. The irony is, though, I had given a talk recently in which I had mentioned this particular image. Somebody asked me a similar question. And when I came home, I was like, where is that image? And I looked for it, and I found it, and I turned it over. And when I looked at the quote, the caption, the second time, it wasn't 100% clear to me whether that is indeed what the caption said. I could have misread the handwriting, and it could have been, something like David Littlefield or something, like the name of somebody, but that in the handwriting had looked like Dad learning to read. And I'm still not 100% sure, and I tried to look for the image today as well, just to look at it again. But I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. This whole image was so memorable to me because of this one particular caption that gave it, that imbued it with such extraordinary resonance and meaning. And if I got that wrong, and in fact just some sort of regular old guy, the name of somebody reading, it's not the same image. It doesn't have the same feeling, the same meaning. Nothing about it remains the same. It just becomes a rather sort of uninteresting snapshot, in fact. So I think the question still remains, because I have to find it again to look at it in more detail, to see it again, whether I actually misread it or it does, in fact, say Dad learning to read.